always go to where the most pain is. 3, 4, 5. And the most pain for me will be, got to have at least 3 maths. That's 3, 6, 9. A little bit of condensed milk. 3, 6, not going to complicate matters. 12, there will be the word warm somewhere, and it'll be between 2 and 3.5. On top of your custard. Just mix this maida. There's another reason for that. That's going to be our 5th. 15? Hi there, my name's Christian Henson. I'm a film, TV and computer games composer. I've been doing that for about 25 years, but I'm not trained, don't read music, don't really know about music theory, but I've had the opportunity of working with loads of orchestras and that kind of stuff. I'm trying to take the mystery out of orchestral programming, working with orchestras. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Now, what I tend to do is jump into how to program strings, how to get them under your fingers and how to work with your controllers and all of that kind of stuff, without really talking about how to set it up on your DAW. So that's what I'm going to do today. Now, there's really complicated ways of setting this up, and I set them up really in a very complicated way based on loads and loads of experience of how things need to be delivered. But I thought I'd just do an introduction to setting stuff up on your DAW in a more rudimentary way, but in a way that will get you your broadcast quality masters that maybe you'll be mixing yourself or an engineer will be mixing for you. Now, I work on Logic, but I'm going to keep it very generic today. There are certain things in like Logic and Cubase and Pro Tools where you can group things together and do all sorts of bus groups and stuff like that. I'm not going to bother with that today. One, because it's easy to get lost in the mental tangle that is computerized busing, you know, without having the actual spaghetti to plug in to different holes. It becomes more of a theory than anything. And I just think it would be a shame for this to be a Logic tutorial and not open to all. Having said that, currently all roads lead to Pro Tools. So regardless of what DAW you're working in, it's always worth preparing for that eventuality. I think the first thing that needs to be said is most string libraries come set up in a way that most composers don't have it set up. And that is a preset with a bunch of different articulations, different styles of bowing and fingering techniques by use of these key switches. You can see they're coloured here on the screen. So that's position 1. I do know composers who work with key switches, but they do tend to be in the minority, and I'm not saying they do it the wrong way or the right way. This is just the way that I've done it for years and years and years, which is why this is the way I'm showing you. Right, okay, let's just, before I start, a couple of little disclaimers. You'll see that I'm going to be sticking everything via a bus 99. This is actually so I can hear what I'm doing. Basically, if we take this down, everything that goes out of stereo out is going to the little tape machine there. So you're hearing that, but I'm not. So if I take that down, you'll see that I'm not hearing anything. If I take that up, you're hearing that through my lav mic, and now you're hearing both. So that may add just a little bit of visual complexity into what I'm about to show you. So First things first, most string libraries come with reverbs loaded in. I'm going to be using Crow Hill's glass strings, which is something I was involved in making. It's not an advert for glass strings. What I'm going to do here will work with any string library that the main developers make. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch off the reverb. That is something that I want to control. As you'll see in a minute, I'm going to get a lot of tracks up, and it's not about CPU usage. I think we're gone are the days where reverbs used to cause us problems. It's more about a generalized control over a band as a whole, as opposed to individual instances. The next thing I'm going to do is pull up a mix that I'm happy with. Nice. Now, just if we mute these, you'll see the close mics used rarely by engineers unless they need to boost certain sections. It's not a particularly nice sounding signal, so I'm going to pull that in. Great. I think that I'll predominantly use that. Now let's mix in a bit of the ambient. Gives it a bit of width. I'm going to increase that. It gets a little bit phasey if you take it too far. And let's have a listen with the close. I'm going to bring that in. So I'm just going to leave that off. What I'm now going to do is lay out all the possible articulations. Now, Glass Strings is an ensembles library, which again, having met hundreds, if not thousands of composers, we tend to predominantly use ensembles, and then we'll pick out individual sections if you have a library that does that. This isn't a library that does that. It's basically going to duplicate the presets and then just load different articulations in those. The reason for that being that each preset will have that previous mix setting that we set before, with reverb on, close mic on, that kind of stuff. Right, so that's great. What we also have is the option of bass. So without, with, give it just a little bit more. So I'm going to use the bass on just a select few, just again going on experience. Now what I'm going to do is separate them off into stems. Now this sounds like really premature. Fact of the matter is I'm a media composer, which means I write for film and TV, and this means that the number of files I have will be huge. It won't be just, I don't know, a 12-song album, or rather an album with maybe 3 songs on that have strings. There will be literally hundreds of cues. And if I don't set this up at this stage and then basically use this as my template or my song file that I save as, you know, into different versions, certainly with drama, reverb is going to be your friend. You're going to put piles on, a little bit more than is maybe natural. You're not going to want the same application, say, of this to something like this, which is loads and loads of room. So we're going to stem them off primarily for reverb distribution, secondarily so that we can send either an engineer or the dubbing guy, so the person who mixes dialogue, sound effects and music, stems. But also if you're mixing stuff yourself, I would recommend this way of stemming up, and it's not massive, it's just 4 stems for the strings. And this is where practicality comes in to the equation. The reason why I want longs on their own track and shorts is not just about distribution of reverbs, but it's about distribution of manpower within sessions. Longs are the hardest to fake, so they're going to be the thing that you really want to focus on. Shorts, you're going to want to balance them differently to the longs. To actually merge shorts with other strings is really difficult, and there may need to be a little bit of shimming around. You don't want lots of long notes in and amongst them if you're looking for those all important transients, so you can tighten stuff up. Plucks. Now, the reason why they're on a different track to the shorts is because plucks are basically the most realistic thing samples do. Now that sounds like something reasonable to write. That is going to be really difficult to play. They will get there, but it'll take time, and you've just got to balance up longs, which never sound particularly real, particularly when they're being lyrical, versus pizzicatos, which most of your listeners will believe. And because composers like me have been working like this for about 20 years, it is definitely a lesser used articulation, even if we're using it all the time. So they're going to be less experienced and may surprise you at how many more takes they use to get to where you want them to be. And what about these extras? Okay, well, I'm just going to show you an example of a kind of sound that I like using. But then I love just to add a little bit of harmonic. But so often you'll add maybe just an extra note up there that'll just give it a bit of... So we've got here in the harmonics, three notes, and then you've got, so that's at least three players, and then you've got another two, so that's 3, 4, 5. If you want them to sound like sections, got to have at least three playing each, so that's 3, 6, 9, maths, 12, 15. So basically, in order to create this sound, well, first of all, the tremolo is a single note. That is a recording of some string players playing a single note tremolando. You don't need to re-record it. Then where harmonics are concerned, they're difficult to play. You're moving. They're going to be sitting on top of strings beneath them. But because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes in the bottom half, you're going to have to do a thing called divisi, which is split up the violins, the one section that you want man and woman power on. So to deny that section 3, 6, 9 players in order to play something that is just a little bit of condensed milk on top of your custard, I think it's wasteful, which is why we separate these off by stem, so you can then control, and they need to be finely tuned. And believe you me, once we add the reverb in, you'll never know. Always go to where the most pain is, and the most pain for me will be the movement here. It doesn't sound like anything. Whilst the samples may put hairs up on the back of your neck. You get live players to play just those, 4 chords, and it'll bring tears to your eyes. So, but it's all in the movement and the way they lean into those new notes and find those new notes and articulate them. That's where the magic will happen, which is again why we stem this stuff out. So final part of the process, and again Logic users will go, oh, you could do this with stacks. Not going to complicate matters. I'm going to bus these out to their individual stems. So let's go bus 1. And this is an auxiliary track. So you don't need to put it into record or input. It's like a live channel that's open. And then shorts, bus 3. And finally our extras, bus 4. So it should sound identical. Next up, we want our reverbs. Setting up for strings is to treat it like it is a single instrument, a single section. So we want to treat these things together. But as I mentioned, we also want to control the reverb amount. So we've got our longs. Just so there's a degree of logic, I'm going to assign it to bus 10, shorts, bus 11, plucks, bus 12, and extras, bus 15. Let's load up some splosh. I don't like the Logic reverbs, but just so you can download this and hear it for yourself if you own Logic. Better still if you own Glass Strings, link below if you're interested in having a look at those. Let's go reverbs. Just mix this mitre. There ain't no reverb. Now what you'll find, and lots of engineers know this, is the way that reverbs are named give you a little wink to what they're imitating. If we look here, large spaces, halls, there will be the word warm somewhere, and it'll be between 2 and 3.5 sec. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of like warm. That, I bet you, will be based on the TC6000, which is an industry standard for Hollywood. We don't want any dry signal because we've already got the dry signal coming through these channels here. We just want 100% wet. Right, you'll notice this is dialed back minus 10 dB. I'm going to put that up to 0. And something I like doing is a thing called unity. So your starting point is everything flat faders. Now, I could change the reverb amounts, which I'm going to with the plucks and the shorts with these faders, and will do, but I love starting from a point of unity. All is well with the world. Okay, so that's really nice. That's really nice. That's really nice. And how am I going to divvy this up? So let's, with the shorts, let's take that down -8. The plucks, I reckon -12. We'll have a listen to that in a sec. And then let's leave these where they are. I'm going to put all of these effects tracks into a bus. Let's call it bus 20. All effects. So we can, in one go, control the amount of reverb or independently. There's another reason for that. That's going to be our 5th stem. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Loads of tutorials coming up. If you want to check out Glass Strings, video description down below. But this is not what these videos are about. These videos are about sharing the knowledge, sharing the love, because over the years, people have shared their knowledge with me, and I think it's only fair to continue with that continuum with music. It brings people together, and it makes sure that every day is a school day. Lots of love, and thanks so much for watching till the end. See you very soon.